Unmute. All right, hey guys, welcome. We have our next guest, one of many, Ryan Laplante, poker player, poker coach, avid tweeter. So I don't know. I know lots about you. Adam does. We write about you. The poker tours that we work on. But maybe for some of the people who might not know who you are, if you could introduce yourself, and then we'll get started.
I'm a 27-year-old poker professional. I've been playing poker professionally since I was 19 years old and grinding since I was 18, really. Over that time period, I have about 4 million in total tournament earnings. I've six World Series final tables, won a bracelet last year in what was at the time the largest Parliament Omaha tournament ever, but now the second largest. Yeah, I've been an online and live grinder the entire time. I spent most of the years since Black Friday hopping back and forth between Canada, Mexico, Vegas, and the Midwest, but have settled more so down in Vegas over the last couple of years. And I still travel for the big major online series and also travel for like bigger live stuff, but I'm mostly now in Vegas like 8 to 9 months of the year.
Awesome. Well, it's great to meet you officially. I mean, as I said, I'm Aaliyah, by the way. Adam. I know we've like
Mhm.
interacted, here and there, but it's good to actually be able to chat with you. And so, I guess to kick things off, I definitely have questions. I'm sure Adam does too.
Yep.
So we'll just get going. Is there anything you want to talk about? Just jump in at any point, and
Yeah, of
hopefully we
course.
get interrupted with some donation pop-ups on here. So.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. So as you said, six final tables. You had a bracelet in the 565 PLO, and
Yeah.
I was looking through your Hendon Mob, and I noticed this mostly just on Twitter. You just like you're a serial casher. Like you cash a lot. You have like 90, I think 90 or so. I tried to count. I just kind of like gave up. I'm like, okay, it's around 90, I think. Like 90-ish
Mhm.
caches on Hendon Mob. I'm sure tons more not recorded live. I mean, we were talking to Kim earlier. I don't know if you caught one of my comments, but
Mhm.
I noticed that you're just super positive all the time. My main question for you, and the first one I want to ask, is how do you
Mhm.
maintain that composure in poker when there's a lot of people that are like super jaded sometimes, and just sometimes they just end up being like super angry and negative. But you're always so positive. You're always like about learning in poker, and I just want to know how you came to be that way.
I mean, honestly, I've been very fortunate to have been able to still be around as a poker player. I mean, the fact that I can still make a living from the game after 8 years is absolutely incredible. And on top of that, to have been able to achieve dreams and goals of mine in the game has been absolutely incredible. And, being able to have those types of experiences has made me really appreciate what I have. And then on top of that, I've great balance outside of poker. I'm in a long-term relationship. We have pets, and I have a
Nice.
great and large group of friends and everything. So anytime I start to feel frustrated or annoyed about, the short-term stuff that happens in the game or in the industry as a whole, that I have so many great things going on that I really can't be more than minimally upset. And I used to really deal badly with tilt. I used to be a massive, massive, massive tilter. I'd get really frustrated and angry and yell, and I've broken headsets and keyboards and all that stuff. But as I've gotten older and matured, it's been much easier for me to really look at and see the good things in my life and to learn to just appreciate the good things and to use that as a means to kind of ignore and shrug off the bad things. And if the worst thing happened to me in a day was I got two outed in a tournament for 100 big blinds, I'm not really having that bad of a day. So I just go on to the next day and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of the hard thing that I've been really struggling with is that I don't really have any more like concrete goals. I mean, there are things that I'd still want to do, like I'd like to play in the Aussie Millions. I would like to play in the PCA 25K that's coming up. There are like things like that, but like outside of like those kinds of things, there's not really a specific defined goal in terms that I have. Like, if I win a WPT or something like that, it'd be cool. But like thinking about things in like those terms, I kind of feel just sets you up more for failure when you're thinking in terms of, oh, winning something or having $1 million year. Like, yeah, having like things like that I think would be really cool. But like mostly my goals are more just keep improving, keep getting better, work more on my coaching stuff, work on the side projects that I'm working on and have those be successful. Be a little bit more disciplined with things like working out and like making sure that I'm working hard on my relationship. Like I have lots of like little side goals, but there's no longer a big overall encompassing thing that I like really, really want to achieve. And I think that's really important in terms of being happy and staying grounded, having things that I'm constantly and consistently working for that may not necessarily have a definitive ending, but give me, reason and purpose to keep working hard. I mean, we're in the process of buying a house, so now I have like a mortgage to worry about. So I have like things that are motivating me outside of the game. And then as far as like the game itself, I still want to be able to compete at a high level 5 years from now. And the only way that I'm going to be able to do that is by consistently and continually working hard and grinding and really staying on top of the game. But there's no longer like a specific accolade that I really want to achieve anymore outside of maybe like cashing in a high roller, some of the things like that that are more just about like ego and fun than they are about anything else really. It was 2016, so 2 summers ago. No, by far the highlight by a mile. I mean, like honestly, so I started following poker back when I would say, so Moneymaker. So I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 or something like that. And like my friends were playing it on weekends occasionally and doing home games. And so like our weekends would consist of poker, Halo, and that kind of thing. So like because I was following it back then, I really started to fall in love with the game back then as well. I'd watched every single episode of the World Series the moment it aired. I was there every, I believe it was Tuesday, watching it as it aired. And each year as the new episodes would come out, I'd watch the previous years leading up to it. So like I've seen like every single year of the World Series of poker on ESPN, at least 15 times. And so I'd wanted a bracelet since I was like 11 or 12, probably like 12. And when I spent my summers working for my parents, I would daydream while like working for them. I'd daydream about winning a bracelet. So like for me, winning a bracelet was by far like the thing that I most wanted to achieve. And to have had the opportunity to do so well at the World Series has just been absolutely incredible. I mean, this year, um, I had almost as good of a summer in the sense that I had two final tables, and my first final table I got to share with a good friend of mine in the $1,000 buy and take team event, which was just such an amazing experience to be able to have, to share that with someone else. It's just not really something that you get to do in any other event. And then to have a shot at a second bracelet, taking second in the half and half, was just, absolutely ridiculous. So to be able to consistently do well there when it's something that I've, wanted for like 15 years has been great. Yeah, definitely. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I can hear you guys great.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, here we go. Okay, the light was on, but kind of misleading. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, so if you can recall, I know some people, poker players, say, I don't really always remember a lot of the bad beats, but if you can, what is like the worst beat you've taken in terms of, I guess, the worst feeling you've had? Maybe not so much for getting one outed or two outed for like thousands of dollars, but in terms of how sick the hand might have been, or
Definitely the hand that stands out for me was oh, there's echo. I can hear myself on your guys' end.
Oh, really? Let's
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to move it a bit further away. Is that a bit better?
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So definitely the hand that stands out the most for me was I was five-handed in the $3,000 buy-in Nolan Holden event at the World Series. Um, it was in 2015. 14? No, 2014. 15 was the year of dust for me. I just straight brick. But 2014, so I was five-handed $3,000 buy-in event, and one of the players was Jake Schindler. The others were Ryan Giaconetti, Ryan Olisar, and then a recreational player. So the five of us, and we were all like pretty close and stacked. And it exposes me to in the small blind. I complete, and Jake Schindler opens to 3.5 times, and I shove for like 26 big blinds. And the stack sizes at the time were like 26 big blinds, like 28 big blinds, like 29 big blinds, 30 big blinds, and then the chip leader was a recreational player who had like 70. So we were all like the four of us were very, very close in stack.
Wow.
And when I shove, Schindler called me with King Queen, which is, my mind, like a really huge ICM mistake. And I knew it at the time that it was a big ICM mistake as well, but Schindler that year was on like at the time was on like the year of his life. He'd won the 25K PCA for like $1 million and was just crushing it the rest of the year. So, he didn't really care about ICM, he was just trying to take first place. And we had a really dirty run out where he five out rivers me, and it was a five out river card that was worth like $200,000 in equity or something like that, in a hand in which he like ICM punted on top of it. So that hand like always stood out, and every time I saw like Jake Schindler's name in something, I just like remind myself of the ICM punt versus me and the five out river for like all the money. It's by far like the biggest equity pot I've ever played, and it was against someone like him who's like a super high stakes monster as well.
Yeah.
So like that's definitely the hand that like will always stand out in my mind every time I look back. And most of the other big hands that I've been in, like I don't really remember a lot of them, mostly because like maybe they just weren't like as truly as important. I remember like most of my major bust hands from like final tables, but like when I was 21 years old, my first final table at the World Series, I got to the final, like the unofficial final table. I was in 10th place, or maybe I was in ninth place. By the time we got nine-handed, I was chip leader without having gone to showdown, and then I busted in 8th place after bricking an up down straight flush draw, then running ace king to kings like 3 hands later. So I went from like 10 out of 10 to 1 out of 9 to 8th place at 21 years old. And back then like the fields were still really massive. Black Friday just happened, so it was like a 1,500, but it had like $500,000 for first. So it was like a pretty absurd situation to be at, for 21 years old, and then to have those swings. Like I remember stuff like that, but like definitely the Schindler hand stands out to me the most.
Wow. What did you shove with?
I ace 10.
Ace ten. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
I
pretty big
completed
spot.
and
Yeah.
three bet bam, then, he had that. So it was just like yes, it's only like a 60-40 that I lost, but
Yeah.
like it was
I
a
know what you
mixture
mean.
of the
Yeah.
fact that like it was an ICM mistake on his part, and then like to have him five out re-hit it was just it was just a painful flip. But like the way your brain attaches to something, it's I don't care that was a flip. I
Yeah.
care about where I was at going into the river. And that's what you attach your mind always like latches onto.
For sure. No, that's definitely a sick spot.
For sure.
I mean, leading into that, my next question is, I know that you do lots of coaching.
Yeah.
I'm always seeing you tweet about it, and you're also on top of that. You're always constantly posting hands and as polls, and you're helping people get better, even without charging them onto it's awesome to see. I know that it says that you're a cards chat ambassador and a chip leader coach.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to talk a little bit about maybe I know that IR Egyptian is one of your students. Awesome guy. I met him in Reno, and he's Canadian just like us, so kind of like we kind of follow a lot of the Canadians as well. You want to talk a bit about how coaching has helped you maybe in your life and your poker game, and maybe how people can get in touch with you to maybe get some coaching.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be the player I am today without getting coached. I mean, my entire career I've always been back, and most of the backers I've gotten have also coached me directly or like hired coaches for me. And coaching has been such an important aspect of my game. The current people who back me, Team 651, the owner Jack Stack 99, who's one of the best, if not the best, as a Piper Turbo player in the world, has been my coach for the last 3 years. And he's one of the best poker players I know, one of the best poker players in the world. And having access to someone like that has helped me to such a ridiculous degree. And I also realized a long time ago that receiving coaching is such an important aspect of growing as a player, and that via me coaching others that I get to kind of give back a little bit. And on top of that, coaching others also honestly helps out my game a lot as well. There are a lot of aspects of the game that require a very in-depth understanding of it. When someone asks you a question about a situation, and if you can't prove it to them in an easy to follow, in-depth manner, you probably don't understand it enough yourself. So anytime I had, a student ask me a question and I didn't know what the exact correct answer was, well, quote unquote, then I would realize that I just didn't understand the situation very well, and I needed to go out, study, and learn about it better. So coaching has helped out my game ridiculously. Not only being coached myself, but coaching others has helped out my game a lot as well. I've gotten to the point where I can very concisely and very easily explain very advanced and in-depth concepts to people, and that makes my own thought process during hands a lot more clear. I'm not as stressed out about a high equity, really difficult situation when I can break it apart and analyze it in the moment and have so much experience and practice with doing so. A lot of playing anything or doing anything at a very high level is all about practice and making sure you understand and know the situation well. And when you understand and know it well, then you aren't relying on your emotional instincts to dictate what you should be doing. That gives me a lot of confidence and makes my decision making a lot more clear in situations, which has helped me out immensely as well. And on top of that, coaching others just is a way to help grow the game. And poker itself is a very selfish industry. It's a very selfish game in the sense that it's you against everyone else, and you're working hard to just do damage to each other, to take each other's chips, to take money from each other. And it's not like, yes, I love it, and I love the game, I love the industry, and I still am very passionate about it, but it in itself isn't something that really gives you as much of a sense of purpose. So coaching and teaching others and helping others learn about how complex and how amazing the game is, and seeing others succeed and achieve things that they desire gives me a lot of passion. Having someone like Patrick go from being a spin and go player and a weaker, lower stakes tournament player to absolutely crushing the mid stakes on stars, and expecting him to be able to crush the high stakes now as well is absolutely great to see someone consistently do well. And I've had multiple students over the years who have gone from being very weak, low stakes recreational players to being very dominating mid-stakes crushers, and it's just great to see that amount of growth and to see people achieve things that they really want to achieve.
Awesome. Sticking with coaching kind of thing, you play a lot of live poker, you play a lot of online poker, and you're doing coaching as well. How are you able to balance them all? Because poker is kind of like a game of evolution. Like, it's always changing. Right. Like, the meta is always changing, right? How are you able to keep up with the meta and still coach these guys and continue playing as much as you do?
I mean, I'm still in a handful of high stakes group chats, plus I still get coaching occasionally from my backers. Well, I stay on top of the most up-to-date materials that are online, whether it's a Ben CP masterclass or, just working with PO Solver. And a lot of the new meta is all around understanding game theory optimal lines and theories. And when you have my backer being a has a hyper sit and go kind of guy, he's very GTO oriented. So when I have access to someone like him, I get a lot of the knowledge that he's gained from Pio just taught directly to me. So I kind of have this like boost in order to like keep up with, being coached myself, as well as having access to things like the BenCB Masterclass, and plus tons of friends who all play high stakes and stay very competitive and work very hard. That enables me to much more easily stay on top of the game without having to put in as much time. That's kind of like, that's one of the big tools of discussing with others and getting coaching, is that it's kind of like a speed boost to do it without needing to put in the time and effort to really do it completely on your own.
Right.
And if you notice, like, anytime there's like, someone who does exceptionally well, there's always a group of people around them who also do very well, like the Germans, or the high stakes Spanish regs, or the high stakes British regs, or there's always like a group of people who all pull their knowledge together and work very hard and study together, and that's why. It's because it saves you, so it's much more efficient to work hard with others than it is to just study and stuff on your own. The nice thing about playing live is that it does give me a lot of time to do other things. While I'm playing live in Vegas, I generally have time in the morning to be able to fit in coaching sessions. So what I do is I'll have a coaching session each morning, and then I will go and late register the tournament by an hour or two. So I still get to play the majority of the tournament, still get to play the early stages, only miss out on a little bit, and also getting tons of coaching time. And then there's usually, spaces of time like, for instance, the last half of December and pretty much the month of January, where there really isn't that much going on here. So that gives me time to more work on my game on my own, to go through things like the master class, to get in coaching sessions of my own, to just discuss and study and do those kinds of things with friends as well. So I've kind of been able to like squeeze in time here and there. And then when I play like the big major online series, I get a really good insight as to how my game overall looks. If I'm running really good EV/BB numbers, playing in the high stakes stuff on stars, then my game is definitely kept up to date. But if I'm like running really bad numbers and losing money, then my game hasn't, and then I just need to work a lot harder. And getting that every couple or every like 3 to 6 months, plus just having confirmation of speaking to friends constantly about hands, I get a pretty good barometer of where my game overall is at relative to what it needs to be, and also I'm just constantly and consistently working on it. So I'm at least doing my best to stay even with where I'm at in the game, and then working hard occasionally to like kind of get caught up even more. And I feel as though that between like doing everything, that I never really get truly burned out of anything. Because when I do the big online series, I'm only gone for about 2 to 3 weeks. So usually at the end of it, I feel burned out, but then I get to switch to live poker or even get some time off. And usually at the end of the summer, I start to feel a little burned out. I mean, my summer is like 60 some tournaments, no days off for, 7 or 8 weeks, where the most I get off is an evening, like 3-4 hours off, and I'm gone for 14 hours a day. At the end of that, I feel a little burned out, but like usually at the end of it, I get like 3 weeks of no poker whatsoever, and then I get to play a little the live series down in Florida to get another like week off, and then I go play the online series. Awesome. So I always have like stretches of time that I get to like relax and unwind a little bit. And then between like just having balance, the rest of the time I'm here in Vegas helps immensely as well, with preventing me from getting burned out, making sure that I'm constantly working hard and staying on top of things.
Awesome. Yeah, because I think after this World Series, you went on a bit of a hiking/biking trip around the States. How was that?
We went on a driving trip. We drove from Vegas to Minnesota to Wisconsin to North Carolina to Florida to Texas, back to Vegas. It was like 8,000 miles over 6 weeks or something like that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I got to see a lot of family, got to do Disney World. I got to see a rocket go off at Kennedy Space Center, which was mind-blowingly cool. Got to do like all that kind of stuff. So, after a huge summer, I was able to really relax and appreciate, my, incredible, few months, and it was a really cool and really good trip, and definitely needed.
Cool.
Nice. I know you play lots of tournaments, but I also, I noticed I saw you on the live stream of Bellagio Pots on Twitch, and so, I mean, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I mostly play cash games, mostly because of the career choice, and we're around tournaments all day, so I like cash more. But what's the balance that you have between tournaments and cash games? Like, how often do you play cash, and how important do you think it is for tournament players to balance with cash? I know, some people say professionally, people should have like a mix of cash games. How do you feel about that, and what's your balance?
I don't really have much of a balance between tournaments and cash games because instead of playing cash games as my balance, my coaching and other side projects are my balance.
Okay.
But if I wasn't really working on coaching, I'd definitely be playing a lot more cash games. I mean, the reality is that, especially now that I play mostly live or play a lot live, my overall even though I am focusing a lot live, my overall volume live is only about 200 tournaments on the year, which sounds like it's a lot because it's a lot of hours work, but in like the grand scheme of like how variance works, it's not very much. A single Sunday session, when I'm outside the U.S. will be like 60 tournaments. So like the stretch of tournaments I'll play over 2 weeks when I'm outside the U.S. will be like 600 tournaments. So that's 3 years of live volume, but I'm doing it in like 2 weeks. And so because of that, you need some other side income to consistently have money coming in. I mean, even if I have like over 200 tournaments, it's pretty easy to just lose money over. Even though I game select really well, even though I sell more to like bigger things I play, it's not that unrealistic for me to have a losing year. I think 2015 actually had a losing year live. And it wouldn't surprise me if next year was a losing year. Even though my game right now is by far the best it's ever been relative to other professionals, I could very easily lose money over the next year. It wouldn't surprise me to any degree whatsoever. And because of that, that means you need other income coming in. And while, yes, I get to balance it off a little bit with playing, big Sundays online here and then traveling to big online series, even that really isn't enough because most of these online fields are really, really big. So the amount of variance in those is even bigger than what I'm playing live, and it's a very small portion of my overall like dollar volume as well. I think I'm maybe at 60% live volume, 40% online volume in terms of like actual money played. And it'd be pretty easy for me to both lose money online and live in a year. So I need to do something to be able to balance that out. And I mostly do it with coaching because A, I just really enjoy it. B, it helps me out a lot. C, it gives back to the community. And D, it's guaranteed money that comes in. If I'm playing cash games, it's not guaranteed. I should make money over a couple 100-hour stretch, but even then I could still lose money over a couple 100-hour stretch pretty easily. That being said, I do really enjoy to play cash games. It's just the types of cash games that I enjoy tend to be the worst types of cash games to play in the sense that like most live cash games, like if you're playing like 2-5 or 5-10 in Vegas, it's a bunch of like kids listening to music, not really talking to each other. It's very quiet. No one's really tends to have that much fun, and I find that to be fairly boring. So the types of games that I enjoy are like if I'm playing in a normal like 2-line game, so playing like 5-10, I want it to be fast paced. I want people to kind of be having fun, or I at least want to be tested. I want to like be put into difficult situations, which means I'm playing like the toughest 5-10 games. So at least I'm like playing really deep and being put into really difficult situations. And I'm in these types of games, people tend to also have a little bit more fun. They tend to be a little bit more active. They're talking a little bit more. So the types of games that like you should generally be in to grind, I tend to find fairly boring since. Who wants to play 5-10 and not say a word to anyone? That to me is not enjoyable. But that being said, PLO has kind of been like the best of both worlds in that the main game that I like to play for Potland Omaha is a 2-5-10 game with a rock and aria. So it's a 2-5 blinds, and there's a $10 buy-in rock where if you win the pot, you post it, and then the position pre-flop shifts. So there's always a shift in position, and to me that adds for a very interesting dynamic, and it's a dynamic that takes a while to learn. And also, everyone at the table shifts differently because of it. Some people play as though it doesn't exist. Some people, adjust a little bit to it. Some people adjust very well to it. And on top of that, PLO, people actually play very fast-paced. You don't really get people who tank very often in Potland Omaha. It's a very rare occurrence. I'm one of the slowest people at the table, and I try my best to play as fast as possible in PLO. And, just because there's situations I'm just not that used to. And so in a situation that like some of the regs might know to 3-bet within 5 seconds, it takes me like 15 seconds. And I feel as though I'm playing slow because everyone else is playing so fast. So it's really fast paced. The only downside is that, people like to run it twice and like you just get a lot of split pots. But overall, with how fast it plays and how big most of the post-flop pots play, it's a lot more fun atmosphere. On top of that, the type of people who are attracted to Omaha are the type of people that love to like gamble and have fun while they're playing. So the recreational players tend to be a lot more active. And then the pros who want to keep that kind of atmosphere alive also tend to be a lot more active, also tend to talk a lot more. So it's just a much more fun overall experience and atmosphere. It's a type of atmosphere that like Bellagio pots and like stream games tend to like try to achieve, and that getting a lot more talking going, a lot more action going. Like my favorite type of cash game would be like a 3-blind, half no limit, half PLO game. Nice. With like the deuce 7 game going and like no limit hold'em, and in like PLO trying to have like fun like prop bets and stuff going. And like that kind of game in which encourages people to have fun, encourages people to like get out of their comfort zone, to gamble a little bit more, and it just encourages a good atmosphere for the game, and the type of atmosphere that can keep a really good game alive and also like get people more interested in it. But like, the usual game that runs in Vegas on like a weekday was just usually just like a bunch of people who aren't really talking to each other. Some of them seem pretty upset with whatever. Like a lot of them just seem annoyed. Like, why are you putting in so much time grinding if you're just unhappy most of the time? And it's not just like some of the younger regs. It's like some of the older regs will be really annoyed too. They'll like lose a pot and they'll just be mad the entire time. And that's just a terrible atmosphere for everybody. So like I do enjoy cash, but I enjoy like the aspects of cash that are either like really, really fun, getting like a fun atmosphere going at the table. So every time I play, I try to get like the deuce 7 game going, or get people to show cards, or try to turn it into a half and half. Or I want to play tournaments because yes, tournaments can have a lot of the same atmosphere of the 2-5, 5-10, with a lot of people being somewhat unhappy. But what I love about tournaments is when you run deep, you're always put into these really interesting and complex situations, and it's always different. And, running deep in any tournament, I always really, really enjoy it. And that's like why I still play and love tournaments. Yes, the variance can be a bit of a downside, but it's definitely made up for just how much more enjoyable it is for me personally.
Well, it sounds like you need to come up to where we're at in Canada, because our PLO games are arguably probably the best in like the country. I mean, like we have in Canada, Adam's from Edmonton, I'm from Calgary, and in Calgary at the One Cowboys Casino, we have like a 1-2-5 game that's not. They set it at 1-2-5 because anything higher is like a bit more intimidating for people, but it actually plays like 25-50. So honestly, you can see like anywhere between, it really is random, but anywhere between like 50 and 100K on the table, just playing 1-2-5, and it's a regular game every single day. So, and it is full of fun players. So if you ever need somewhere to play online, consider Calgary, because it's a really good mix of really big PLO cash games. So
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of the Northwest has some really good games. Yeah. I know like Seattle and Vancouver have really good PLO, and apparently Calgary does as well. And
it is
like,
amazing.
I feel as though like PLO is starting to make a little bit of a comeback, because people have realized that like Nolan Hold'em can be a little bit more boring and straightforward live, and the types of games that tend to be really fun and filled with people who just really enjoy themselves at the table tend to be more PLO games. So you definitely see a lot more action at them, a lot bigger stacks at them, and a lot more of the bigger recreational players that you want to see tend to gravitate towards PLO because there's a lot more bigger pots and big situations.
For sure, absolutely.
You were just at the 5 Diamond at the Bellagio, I believe you were playing there. And was that one of the first tournaments that you've played that has implemented like the button ante or the big blind ante?
So none of the tournaments I played in there actually used it at all. I think the high rollers there were using them. I actually haven't been able to experience it yet, but I've been talking to most of the casinos on the Strip and have been convincing them that they should be using them. And I think the Win in January is going to be using it for one of their tournaments.
What's
The except instead of the button ante, the big blind ante.
right? What's your thoughts on it? Do you like it better, or you obviously like it
I
better? But like,
Yeah, I think it's great for the games. It really speeds up a lot. I'd spoken with one of the tournament directors, and they'd been using it and practicing it. I think maybe it was like one of the guys at the Aria. Anyways, one of them had been practicing it, and they were saying that they were seeing like a 20 to 40% increase in hands per hour using the
Wow.
big blind empty.
yeah,
And getting that many more hands in per hour is huge for everybody. So anything that like speeds up the game, makes the game a lot easier for the dealers, and makes like shuffling go a lot faster is good for everybody. It effectively increases overall play, makes structures overall better, and does so at no cost to the players or the casino. And that's great for everybody. Anything that can speed up overall play and give players more overall play is great. And I can't really think of like many downsides that the big blind ante really, can cause. The main one being like if you just get unlucky and get moved into big blind a few times, well, then you're just out a lot more. But like really, there's always been that kind of risk. And there can be like some short stack scenarios that can like cause minor issues, but like they've already figured out how to deal with it, and
yeah,
I think that overall it's definitely a good improvement for the game. I definitely would like to see more shot clocks being used as well. Not just being used, but being implemented properly. I know Bellagio, they'd implemented shot clocks into their high roller tournaments, and they just weren't very well done. I think it was in part just because their dealers just weren't really properly prepared on how to use them. With the shot clocks being done for the actual WPT event, with dealers who are very used to it, it's very, very well done. Watching in person, it just really sped up the game. Between doing the shot clocks and doing the big blind ante, you see an almost double in hands per hour,
well,
which is just great.
yeah,
Like to see like that big of a speed in play is so needed, and it's just absolutely incredible for everybody. And the upside of doing the shot clocks is that it really prevents people from stalling, and also prevents people just from like randomly tanking, and that's just good for the game. People who do that kind of stuff can really slow down tables. It can really make people unhappy, and that's just not the type of atmosphere that you really want to be playing in.
yeah, exactly. Like I worked the Poker Masters in Vegas, and they ran both the button ante and the shot clocks, and I just felt like the game was so smooth. It was so like nice to watch. Like people, they covered it on Poker Go. They had the final tables on Poker Go, and they got such good feedback from it. I can't see why poker tournaments wouldn't go to that in the future.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting most major tours to be using both, at least for the final, at least for the final.
Final 36 be using shot clocks, and that most places should be using the big blind ante going forward. Like, yes, some recreational players are not really going to like it at first. It does take a little bit to get used to, I'm sure, but overall, I think once everyone realizes just how big of a boon it is for like overall speed and play, that everyone will really enjoy it. Also, one of the nice things is that it really makes structure building for tournament directors a lot easier. They can build much more smooth increases in. Um, Most of the structures I've been seeing that have been added, you can see like a pretty easy 15 to 20% increase in the cost per orbit, and there's like no weird massive jumps. While when you're using the normal ante, there's almost always a weird big jump just because you can't go from like, you know, a 200 ante to a 250 ante. It's like 200 to 300, and then the blinds increase, and then like between the two, that can be a pretty big jump. But you can go from 100 200 with the 100 ante to 100 200 with the 200 ante, and that's a small gradual increase, so there won't be like these weird jarring jumps and structures. That'll make overall play a lot smoother, and should make people, yes, it won't have like really big levels randomly where people can bust a lot, but that overall should make the play and the structure of the tournament a lot better, and also should help out tournament directors ballpark like when tournaments are going to end a little bit easier, when play will end for the night, when they'll hit like how many players they'll have left at certain points. Just overall, I think it just makes building structures a lot easier, and I think it makes play a lot faster. And overall, I think players will end up liking it a lot more, but because of those two factors. Yep. So the screen name I actually got from my Halo days, and it wasn't my idea. One of my really good friends, when I played a lot on Xbox Live and Halo, his username was Potential, and I really liked it. And so when I made my first screen names, I made my first screen name on 2+2 right before I turned 18, and Potential was available, so I used it. Then I tried to make my PokerStars screen name Potential, but someone had taken it. So then I couldn't think of like what I wanted to do. So then I was like, well, I'm from Minnesota, so Potential MN, that works. And my full tilt screen name is Potential, but most of my other screen names, I wanted them to be different from my normal screen names, so people wouldn't know that, so they didn't automatically associate it with me. So then I, went off and made names that were kind of jokes or like I thought were funny at the time or whatever. But yeah, the main screen names that I made all around Potential were just, I really liked the name, and it was a friend of mine from the Halo days. Yep, I will be there. So my year will, I can do a quick breakdown. So January will be mostly studying and coaching and taking it easy. January alone, I have like 18 coaching sessions booked. And the rest of the days I've like family in town, and we'll be and like Sunday online sessions. And then at the end of January, the live series that run from through February are all in town. There's like three big series in town. Probably like 5 million in guarantees over the stretch. So like a 6 week stretch with a ton of guarantees. So I'll be playing those. March is generally a pretty like laid back month. I don't really think there's anything in March. I actually think March will just be another month of me like coaching and maybe playing some live cash hours as well. I plan to do a bit of that in January as well. April is always, or end of March slash April is always, sorry, my dog is being a putz. End of March and April is pretty much always the Seminole Hard Rock series, which I absolutely love. The last few times that I went, I was fortunate enough to be able to play the high roller, which playing the high roller was so much fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It was really cool challenge. It was awesome experience. May is traveling to Canada to play the big online series, but now end of April slash May will be, I don't know exactly the dates, but will be Montreal. So some friends of mine who were down in Punta Cana to play in the 5K, they spoke to, I think, one of the heads of the playground, and they said that they told Party that they're probably like weren't going to be able to hit the guarantee, and Party told them that they just didn't care. So we could see Montreal having one of the biggest overlays in poker history. It could be a couple million Canadian, if not even more. And so I am definitely not missing out on that. And so May will be online grind. I really enjoy the big online series in May. It's a really tough challenge, and it forces me to be really on top of my game. And it's such a grueling few weeks, which might kind of be viewed as a bad thing before the World Series, but it's such a different kind of grueling that it forces my game to be on A++ mode the entire time, and that really warms me up well for a big series. Like I always go into the World Series feeling as though my game's on its A+ top form, and there's almost always like about a week off between the end of the online series and the start of the WSOP grind. So I usually get a week off to just relax and unwind and, get a bit recharged. But I have that time leading up to it to really work on my game. This World Series is probably going to be my biggest year in buy-ins ever for the summer, especially as I'm slightly considering playing the 50K at the end, which I don't know if I'll be able to sell for it, but I'm at least going to wait to see like what the structure looks like and at least consider it. I would love to be able to play it, but either way it's going to be my biggest year in buy-ins ever for the summer. And then, see here, August will be another Florida trip and some time off. September is another big online series. And then really there's not that much until December, and December is where things really start to go off again because December is, of course, Bellagio series. But this year, or this next year, will also be the biggest online guaranteed tournament ever. And I think the biggest guaranteed tournament just ever, anyways. Party Poker announced a 5K 20 mil guarantee. So normally I would never consider leaving, the Bellagio series to play in this, but like you can play in both that and in the 10K at Bellagio. And honestly, even if I could only play in the 5K at Party, well, I'm skipping Bellagio if I had to. So like I'm not going to miss a 20 million guaranteed ever. Ever, 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 ever. So I'm definitely going to play that. I'll sell as many entries for it as possibly needed and will definitely play it. I'm really looking forward to it. That should be awesome. And then of course PCA, them announcing a 25K that's probably going to also have like a 20 million prize pool. I can't skip that. So the next year is going to be a really, really, really big year in terms of like what I play for poker. And then on top of that, with all the coaching and stuff I'm doing, I've been recording almost every single session, and I'm going to be using my website to do a much more official coaching. I wouldn't say it's a training site, but like I'm just going to be selling a lot more content and putting out a lot more content. I'm also starting a vlog, which is sponsored by Cards Chat. Um, all the hands and stuff that I've played over the past month, I've written down any major situations, so I'll be firing that up soon as well. So I've got a lot of things going on at once between coaching and playing, and it should be a really big year, at least in terms of like the amount of work and effort I put into everything, and hopefully in terms of results as well. Oh yeah, definitely. I would absolutely love that. But honestly, even if I don't, I mean, either way, it's going to be a really cool and good year, and I'm just really looking forward to it. And I'm also looking forward to just like seeing everyone at all the stops again. That's one of the things that I really, really enjoy about live poker is that it encourages you to travel and see locations. And there's also like a really big group of people that all travel and see a lot of the same stops. And especially for the World Series, it's just summer camp. Like you get to see everyone. Every single summer, I always get to run into people. Like this summer, near the start, I had like a 2 day stretch where every new table I sat at would be someone that I hadn't spoken to in like 2 years that, or well, maybe that I'd spoken to occasionally online, but like I hadn't seen in person in years. So being able to just like get caught up with people and see everyone, it's always great. It's always a lot of fun, get to do dinner breaks with so many different people and just a really good and fun atmosphere, and being able to see everyone's always just awesome. So I really enjoy being able to travel and do all these stops and see tons of different people, and you get to meet just so many just incredible people in the industry. I mean, poker certainly does have its downsides, but it attracts like an extreme microcosm of some of the best people and some of the worst people. The worst people who are attracted to like the finances and the money that's involved in the game, but then the best people who are just attracted for the love of the game and who are just like true competitors through and through. And a lot of them are just incredibly kind, intelligent, and smart people who are very giving people as well. That's why something like reg charity exists. How many industries come out with something like this by people, and it's such a really cool thing to have like this type of people who are also attracted to the game, and you really get to meet a lot of them because of that. And one of the nice things about the industry as well is that people tend to be pretty well connected. So anytime there is someone who maybe is a bit shady or worth staying away from, there's usually enough like information out there that to stay away. Occasionally things fall through the cracks, but overall we do a pretty good job of policing, and that keeps it to be a pretty cool and really good industry. For whatever downsides it has so many upsides that I'm always happy to be a part of it and really want to see it continue to grow. I dabble. I have my toes in the water, and that's about it. Some good friends of mine are neck deep, and they have a lot of fun with it. And I always wish that I had like a little bit more money, at the start of the year than what I have now, and that now I wasn't about to put all that money into a house. But I think it's really cool. I definitely think it's going to do some great things for the poker industry. Just the amount of money that's already pumped into it, just from people I personally know, is absolutely ridiculous. And there's so many people in poker that are attracted to it. Same type of people that are attracted to poker, the type of people that are attracted to crypto, and not just like the fact that it's part of like subculture and like counterculture, but just that we tend to be attracted to things that are very unique and that can that have, I would say, it's a really cool concept, and I think a lot of people in poker are used to thinking of things about things long term, and it's something that if you understand the technology, which I do to a minuscule degree, but like what little I do understand, it's just it can have like a huge impact on society as a whole, and I think a lot of people in poker are attracted to those types of ideas, and it's great to see that it's been a boon for the industry financially, but also what it could do for society. So, being able to witness it from the inside, so to speak, a lot of people who've been in crypto for years and years and years are well-known poker players. So getting like their insights on something like that's been really cool. I mean, with Doug Post starting a major crypto news site, you get a lot of like really cool insights on it, and it's definitely something that could be as revolutionary as the internet. So seeing something like this birth and see people that personally impact it and also become financially affluent because of it, it's been absolutely incredible. Oh yeah, definitely. And not even just high rollers, but even just like just the strong mid stakes, economy as a whole is probably just going to continue to grow, and that's great as well. I mean, the live poker scene in general has been very strong, but maybe this year will once again be one of the biggest World Series ever, and I think it'll be in part because of crypto. Yep. Hmm. I'd go with my backer, Jack Stack 99. I mean, he's just had such an influence on me personally and on my game, not just, but not just on my game, just like me as an individual, that I certainly owe so much to him that, he's definitely overall my favorite player. As far as like more public player, I would say, I don't really have I don't really have like a really there's like no one like there's so many like people in the industry overall that I really look up to and respect. The people everyone who's behind Reg Charity, there's like a group of like 10 or 15 people that are all behind that. There's like so many people that have had like such a positive overall impact on the industry and that have never done anything negative to impact players directly or indirectly, that just anyone who does their best to bring positivity to the industry, I greatly look up to and respect. And people who use what public platform they get through poker, to continue to do good, I definitely look up to and respect that a lot as well. Hmm. All right. Right. Hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. Huh. Mhm. That's awesome. I mean, doing stuff like this is, absolutely fabulous. It's good for everybody. It's good for the industry, and give. I mean, Reg Charity, they do their research behind what they're donating to, so you know that when you give to them, that they're giving to very, very good causes. And Dan Smith, last year, he did the same thing with donating money, and he does a lot of research behind what he's going to give to as well. And it's just absolutely ridiculous that people in poker realize that the game itself isn't necessarily something, isn't really a tool of good, but like what you can achieve through poker, you can achieve and do a lot of really good things, not just for other people in the industry, but through giving to charities and teaching and just so many different ways that you can actually have a positive impact, on the world and through and in your community because of poker. And it's so great to see. So thank you guys very much for doing something like this. It's absolutely awesome, and it's great to see how much you guys are raising. And I really hope that next year you're able to do the same thing and do a lot more. No, I mean that pretty much covers everything. Thank you guys very much for having me on. Glad I could give a little bit of my time to help you guys out. Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye.